Not all stories are about success, and nobody gets to the top without first spending some time at the bottom. I'm Paula Howley, and this is Rock Bottom Stories. Today's guest knows that losing a loved one can be absolutely devastating. They also know that it can make you stronger as a person. Let's find out how with your hosts, Rafiq Ahmed and Dave Ross. Rock Bottom Stories. It's something new, and it's all about you.
Thank you, Paula, for that great introduction. And I want to thank all of you for joining us at Rock Bottom Stories. The response to episodes 1 and 2 has been outstanding, and we thank you all for your loyalty and your support. I'm Dave Ross, and again, welcome to Rock Bottom Stories.
Thank you, and I am Rafiq Ahmed. Just to remind you all that we are still listening. And if you all have a story that you would like to share with us, all you have to do is just to leave a comment under any of our videos on our Facebook page or on our YouTube channel. And we can assure you that perhaps in our future episodes, our guest can be you. And we can help you to make your story heard, not just to us, but with the world out there. Dave, can you tell us what our viewers are expecting today and who our guest is going to be?
Our viewers today, and you and I, will meet someone who is the model of resiliency. This is a woman who suffered loss, serious loss, not once, but several times. And every time she has come back.
Thank you very much, Raj, for joining us all the way from Saudi Arabia at Rock Bottom Stories. It's our pleasure to have you here, a pleasure to listen to your Rock Bottom story. And our viewers are waiting, and they can't wait to hear from you, actually.
Thank you very much, Rafiq, and thank you, Dave, for inviting me to Rock Bottom Stories.
Roz, could you tell us a little bit about your life?
Sure. So I was born in the UK, and I lived in an extended family. So there's my mum and dad, my 2 brothers, my sister, my uncle, his 2 wives, and his family. So it was a big household, a lot of people. And because of my aunt and uncle, I ended up in an arranged marriage, engaged at 15, married at 17. I had my son just when I was just over 18 and a half. And then 2 months after, my father passed away. So my son was 2 months old, and the abuse, physical abuse and verbal abuse from my husband started soon after. And there was a moment before when I was pregnant, and he showed the tendency to be angry because he punched me in my stomach. And I was shocked. My father was around then, and instead of saying something, I just kept quiet. And then after my dad passed away, it just became an open doorway for him to abuse me. There was never a reason why he was angry. So my son and I were always walking on eggshells, but the violence just escalated a lot. I let it continue for years because I didn't think there was a way out. I kept thinking that if I get divorced or I leave the house, I'm just going to put my son and myself into poverty. However, there was one occasion where the abuse was just too much. I was battered and bruised all over. Luckily, my son didn't witness it because I'd taken him to my mum's that day. It was terrible. And the next day, I went to the solicitors. I couldn't get rid of my husband, or I couldn't get him out of the house. So we stayed together for 3 years, even though we were going through a divorce. Finally, when the divorce came, I had to pay him to leave the house. It's usually the other way around, but I actually had to pay my husband to leave the house so I could keep my son. And that was never contested. So I was always going to keep my son. And my son at that stage was 12. So can you imagine 12, 13 years I'd suffered abuse. And then I refurbished the whole house, got rid of everything that reminded me of that poor marriage, and restarted again. So that was just wonderful. I had great years with my son.
That's definitely, Raj, was your rock bottom state. And we are glad to hear that you actually got out of it. And our viewers can relate to that. In one of our episodes, we even had one of our guests who was in a similar relationship and she got out of it. And we're glad you did. So tell us, was this actually a new beginning for you when you came out of that relationship with your husband?
Yeah. Things after the divorce, after my husband left, things got better, much better. But then at the age, when my son was 18, actually he was only 17, I had an opportunity to come to Saudi Arabia. I just wanted to travel. I actually thought I'd be here for 3 months. I really didn't intend to come for so long. I ended up in Saudi Arabia. Now it's my 22nd year. But when my son was, when I reached 10 years, so I came here, worked, started putting my money away towards a business. Because that's my vision, was to go back and start a business and I could be closer to my son.
So Raj, could you tell us something about your son?
I feel like Jay was my soulmate. You know, when I was going through the difficulties in the marriage, he was my rock. He just being there, him just being there. You know, there were occasions when I couldn't eat because of the pain I was in. My son, as a 7-year-old, a 6-year-old, go and make a sandwich for me and bring it to me. I mean, imagine that. He's being the adult, looking after me. So we grew up with that kind of relationship. He's also one of those children, a wise person. Whenever he needed to comfort me, he used words, few words. Or he always knew, say I came home from work and I looked tired or, you know, whatever the pain was showing, he would make me a cup of tea, leave it, and then leave me with the space to recover or space to just have some me time. So he was very in tune with what I needed, even before I knew what I needed. And he always gave me the space I needed, or he was always there if I needed to talk to someone. Very mature, even as a child. So when I came to Saudi Arabia, I didn't think I was going to be here that long. So I remember saying to my son, I'm going to aim for a year, but I'll be back in 3 months. I don't think I'll be there that long. However, 1 year turned into 2, into 3, into 4. And I started saving. But what I wanted to have was a holistic salon where people like me who had been through awful relationships or had lost someone could come and we'd give them the care that they needed, the attention that they needed. So that was my focus. So I reached 10 years of being in Saudi Arabia, and now I was planning to return back to the UK to start my business. Then I met this gentleman. We were just talking, just as friends, and I was sharing what I wanted to do. because apparently he'd had a business before. And I thought, great, sometimes you need to bounce off ideas of someone who's an entrepreneur or someone who's been in a business so he could guide me. I didn't realize at that stage that he had other intents. So what happened was, unfortunately, in 2008, my son he visited me in Bahrain, and a week later, literally a week later, he went to bed, ordinary day, nothing unusual, and he had a heart attack and he died. But no one knew for 2 days. So when I got the news, obviously I went to the UK. And this person, that I won't mention his name, but he, even before I'd arranged a funeral for my son, he kept phoning me like morning, afternoon, night, asking me for money. He wanted me to give the money that I'd saved, plus mortgage my house, because he had a business potential in Bahrain. All I needed to do, all I wanted to do was lock myself up in a room, not speak to anyone, not do anything, and literally just, I don't know, whether it's feel the pain or just grieve. I had a house full of people from, say, 7 o'clock in the morning until 11 or 12 at night coming to pay their condolences. And my house would be full of people, and then I'd have this person on the phone begging me to give me money. If I didn't answer the phone call or I had to cut the phone call short, he would get angry and like, oh, you never speak to me. It's always about you, isn't it? It's always... So this kind of behavior started, and I couldn't make sense of it. So I had Jay's funeral.
This is definitely another rock bottom moment, I guess, Raj, and you're grieving from the loss of your son, and then you've got another person who's not helping at all. Tell us more about that, Raj.
Yeah. So I had my family. My mom actually was my rock then. My Jay was before, and now he was my mom. She was phenomenal. After the funeral, though, because I'm getting these calls persistently, I ended up going to the bank. I ended up mortgaging my house, because at that stage, when I lost my son, money didn't mean anything to me. The house definitely didn't mean anything to me. Possessions, I wasn't interested in anything. I wanted my son back. And when he kept asking me for money, I just thought, I've got to silence this. Just do it. Just get the mortgage, give it to him. It'll quieten him up, and I can get on with my grieving.
Raj, you were clearly being financially abused at this time. What else was going on with this relationship?
So at that moment, I didn't think I was being abused, because I'm distracted with the grief. I'm distracted with family and friends coming to pay their respects. And I wasn't actually thinking, there was no rational decisions being made by me. I wasn't discussing, I was holding it close to my chest. My pain, my grief. But what I started to do after the funeral was go to the bank to get a mortgage, to pay this guy so he could do whatever he wanted, just so that the phone calls would stop. I literally, it's no rational thinking. I just wanted the phone calls to stop. So I thought the only way to do it is to give him the money. I've lost my son. I don't care about the house. I don't care about money. I don't care about possessions. Here you go, take it. And literally at the back of my mind, I'm like thinking, the money will come back to me. If he's a bad person, what can I do? I'll give him the money. I literally wasn't thinking.
Raj, now you talked to us about your loss of your son. And then you talked to us about this relationship that you were in, which was clearly an abusive relationship. How long did it take for you to actually see the light and come out of all of this? First the grief, then this relationship. For me, as I speak, it's very difficult to comprehend how much time a person needs to actually come out of this.
So, you think losing your child, you've hit rock bottom. And remember, I'm in a grieving state. I'm not making any rational decisions. I came back to Saudi Arabia, transferred the money to him, and put my resignation in. I gave up my job here. So that my thinking was, and I knew that I wasn't in this relationship with him now for anything other than money. keep your friends close, but keep your enemies closer. So I thought, I'll go and work for the same company that he's just set up. Maybe I can do a lot of the accounts work or a lot of the office work, and he can focus on whatever he needs to. It didn't go that way. When I got to Bahrain, I realized there was actually no business. And before long, he was actually taking my card, my debit card, and taking money out of my account, paying for this, paying for that. Before I knew it, within months, the money had just gone. He'd just used up the money with no foresight, with no planning. Like, I'm one of these, I plan my finances and I pay my bills on time. So then it comes up to, before that, so when the money started going, he started getting violent. And I had seen periods of him having these eruptive kind of arguments. He would just blow up for no reason. He had an explosive temper. But it was always not physical at me. And then one day he just goes mad and he just beat me up to a pulp. I had so many bruises. I don't know how I survived that night, actually. So can you imagine this guy who's got this explosive temper? You know the Incredible Hulk, where he goes from an ordinary man into this green monster? This was what he was like. And I used to call him the Incredible Sulk. You've got to find your humour, haven't you? And then it started getting worse, and I got to the stage where I had no money. And then it was coming up to my son's first birthday. And that was the day that my mortgage for the very first time was not going to be paid. I didn't know how to handle it. That was my rock bottom, really, where I had no control. I was in a place that I didn't belong. I had no money to go and take a flight to go back home to my family. And I couldn't come back to Saudi for my job. That's when I felt like as if I was drowning, and I reached that moment. And you'll hear about the aha moment, or there was just a moment that I had where I thought, I've got to let it go. I've got to let all these worries just go. I can't think about my son and all my problems. I can't grieve and I can't fix anything. So I had that moment where I just had to let everything go. And I had this immense peace. For the very first time since my son passed away, I had this angelic peace. It really was a moment. And from that moment onwards, I realized I reached a turning point.
So you've lost your sister, your father, your son, your money, your house, and you let it all go. Wow. And that's when you achieved your peace that allowed you to come out of your rock bottom. Is that correct?
It was a turning point. It wasn't the solution. You see, my road to recovery was 8 years. This was the beginning of it. And that doesn't mean to say the abuse stopped or I managed to get myself out of that house. I still was in that awful relationship for another 6 months. And I remember one occasion when there was a bedroom downstairs and 4 bedrooms upstairs, big house. And I'm sleeping downstairs and I wake up to this thump, 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 thump. He's walking down the stairs. I'm hiding under the cover and my heart is beating really loud and holding my breath because I can sense he's going to be angry. He's having one of his explosive tempers. And he banged the door open, walked into the room shouting about something, pulled the covers off me and literally dragged me off the bed. And I'm still in my nightwear. Anyway, I ended up in a terrible state that day as well. This went on until I reapplied for my job to come back to Saudi, and my boss wanted me back immediately. The process actually took 8 months, took 8 long months or 7 months. So, however, I managed to get a ticket via the company back to the UK. I missed something. In the middle, we had no money. And my bank cards are cleared. I had to do something quick. So I set up a cleaning business. I literally put flyers together. We used whatever we had in the house, a vacuum cleaner, a bucket, got 2 girls to help, and I started a cleaning business, and within days we were making money. That saved me, because every day I was out of the house, out of that violent situation, either working, cleaning people's homes, but if the clients were there, I always had that opportunity to leave the girls, go and grab a cup of coffee, and sit and grieve or connect with my son on a spiritual level. So I managed to find those little pockets of peace, of connecting with my son, of grieving, even though the situation was devastating.
Definitely there are people out there who have a similar situation that they have been through as yourself. What would be your advice for them to hang on and to come out of that rock bottom? What would be your advice, Raj?
Having learned everything that I've been through, the abuse has always been when I've been grieving, so I know my energy is low. However, my top advice is the first time someone hits you, pushes you, says something that you don't like, there's something that you don't want, walk away at the first sign. I didn't do that because I always thought, oh, I must have said something wrong, or I must have done something wrong to deserve this punishment. I must have been a part of it. You walk away. Even if you're at fault, you walk away.
You know, that's a common reaction. A lot of people I know, and even from my own personal experience, you don't expect people that you're close to, that you're affectionate for, that you love, to abuse you. And so if they do, then you think, well, I must have been complicit in somehow. What sort of advice did you get from others during this time, or even afterwards?
You see, when I was going through this horrific relationship, I had a friend who used to come and visit me. And every time I saw her, she'd be like, get in the car and leave the house, get out. She didn't know that I'd handed over my house, literally. I handed over a lot of money. She didn't know that side of it, but she knew by looking at me that I was being abused. However, I know even when in my marriage, when things were bad, and I had a friend saying, leave, why are you with him when he's treating you this badly? You don't feel like you have an option, or you feel like you haven't tried hard enough. Maybe there's, maybe I need to try this. Maybe I can't. I know in my marriage, I always thought maybe I don't cook good enough, or the house isn't clean enough, or, so I'm always looking for, what is it? What is the trigger? It's something to do with me. It's not, it's to do with them. It doesn't matter. I've only just learned recently, been listening to or educating myself on narcissistic people. And it doesn't matter what you do. And you're not the trigger. It's just the way they are. They don't appreciate you. They are in for their own gain. They don't care about whether you're hurting, whether you're in pain, whether you're grieving. If they want something, they'll take it from you.
Raj, I think we should now lead you into your present life that you're in right now, and your future as well. Tell us where you are in your life right now, Raj, and what are your plans for future? Because you definitely come out of your rock bottom. I can see that because you are here with us right now, and we know for a fact earlier before the episode, you told us that you actually came out of this relationship. You actually bounced back. Tell us something about your life right now.
So the recovery was sort of 8 years. What I've been doing for the past 4 or 5 years is focusing on my business. I talked about wanting to have a holistic spa. Well, right now I'm just on the cusp of starting a business called Lanterns. Lanterns, because I feel that's the inner glow that you have when you're at peace, you're at joy, you're happy, you glow. And what it is, it's a mobile salon, mobile spa, and we will go to customers' homes or locations or to businesses to offer services where they come on board. We'll give them a wonderful hamper, party experience. The vehicle is theirs to use, because I feel like it's what I needed then. I needed someone to lift my spirits, and that's what I want to do for my clients.
What's wonderful. Roz, do you have any advice for someone who is suffering from a severe loss?
Recovery takes time. Don't give up on yourself. I've learned a lot of things over since this relationship stopped. I've had to work on myself. I found tools that are really helpful. One tool I'll share with you that I use periodically is, if I have a lot of things, a lot of thoughts going around in my mind, like, oh dear, this happened to me, and oh, woe is me. And we do have those moments. I just grab a few pieces of paper and I write as fast as I can for about 20 minutes to 40 minutes and get all that anger out, get the frustration out. I can name, blame, shame, curse, anything. And then I get those pieces of paper and I burn them. I literally watch my anger, my frustration on those papers just burn into nothing. They're ashes. And what I'm doing then is I'm releasing all of those words that I put on those papers to the universe. The universe can handle my pain. So I let it out to the universe. The other thing I do, and I've been doing this for years, is when I wake up, I don't just jump out of bed. I lie in bed and I imagine my day. I literally imagine everything going well. And if I have a challenge, or I've got a challenging meeting, or there's a job that I really don't want to do, I imagine everything going well and everything's perfect. People coming to me smiling. I don't have any. It's always good. I have a great scenario. It takes 20 seconds. So what I'm doing is I'm setting the intention for the day. And that lifts my spirits. It keeps my energy high. And I'd say 98% of the time, my day goes wonderfully.
Excellent. Raj, I think that's clearly you coming back into light, being and aspiring to be a successful entrepreneur and a businesswoman. And I can see that confidence on your face already. And it clearly shows that no matter how dark it gets, and in your words, as you put it before the show, you gave us your message, you said, this too shall pass. Here's something that I wanted to ask you, Raj. When you're going through that phase and then you come out of it, what is the feeling that you get? Shed us more light on the feeling that you have after coming out of all these dark moments, your rock bottoms.
Good question. In my marriage, when I came out, there was an immense sense of achievement, but peace. At last, I had quality time with my son. I gave my son an environment where he could grow. And there were no arguments. The atmosphere changed completely. There was this joyful atmosphere. With this other relationship after my son died, it took me a lot longer to come out of it, really, because remember, I've lost a lot of money. I've been abused violently in a very bad way. And I did have clinical depression as well. So after all of this, with the grief, I finally went to see a psychiatrist because I couldn't describe what was going on with me. I had this blackness. That's all I could describe. The emotion was dark and black. So this psychiatrist gave me the tools. He put me on, medication is not the answer. So if ever you're on medication and they prescribe you Prozac or whatever, it doesn't make you get up and say, go for a walk. So I don't recommend that you try medication, although you might need it. For me, action. It was doing something every day towards having a goal. So one thing I really do now is I do set goals. I have an accountant now, so I don't make my money mistakes anymore. And I'm thinking more now. I rationalize. I don't make quick decisions. My behavior has changed. But I'm looking forward to a fantastic future. And I love mentoring and helping people who are going through something similar to me or have been through it. Because the road to recovery isn't a quick fix. If you don't get to the core of the problem, or if you're always blaming yourself, you're not healing yourself to move forward. So you have to do a lot of self-work. It's worth it. It's worth it because now I feel like I know what my future holds for me. I couldn't have said that 5 or 8 years ago, but now I know. And it's exciting, it's wonderful. And
Well,
no one broke my spirit. You see, one thing I want you all to remember is you stay true to yourself. Don't ever change because of the circumstances. This too will pass.
that's wonderful. Raj, you're an incredibly strong woman, and you have recovered from several rock bottom experiences. But I have a question for you. Do you recall the first time that you just laughed with pure, sincere joy after you hit your rock bottom?
Absolutely. I can't remember the first time, but I have to say, my friends call it a tribe. So I found a group of ladies not similar to me, they don't have my stories.
Mm-hmm.
They love having fun. They love to sit and talk, and we have deep conversations. So I do surround myself with people who love to talk, who want to process stuff maybe, or just have fun. I've had the best events with my girlfriends, I have to admit. So I believe you need to have quality time, and that quality time could be a cup of tea, or it could be going out for the evening, going out for the day. Life is to be enjoyed. I'm not going to spend the rest of my life in a miserable state because I lost my son, my father, my sister. I'm going to enjoy every day, every day.
Thank you so much for taking the courage, the time to actually share your story, Raj. Our viewers who are listening are definitely inspired by your path that you took on your way to coming out of your rock bottom. We are so happy that you took the courage to do this. Thank you for being with us here and joining us all the way from Saudi Arabia with your rock bottom story.
Thank you, Rafiq, and thank you, Dave.
It has been our honor and privilege to have you. And I also want to thank you for the great ideas. I'm going to start a bonfire pretty soon to see if I can get it started. But thank you, Rob, so much.
Well, don't forget to invite me then.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And that was Raj Johal with her rock bottom stories. And we thank her so much for sharing.
And thanks to all of you who tuned in for episode 3. And we can't wait to come back with episode 4. And we promise you to bring something new. And we also promise you that it will be all about you.
And if you have a rock bottom story that you'd like to share, contact us on our Facebook page. And don't forget to go to our YouTube channel. Our YouTube channel is right over there. It's Rock Bottom, one word, space, stories on YouTube. And we'd like you to like, comment, and share.
And that's how you show us your support and your encouragement for us to come back with more episodes, because we are not going to stop until we have heard all your stories of all of you out there, because we are listening. Thank you so much for tuning in. It's goodbye from us.
Goodbye. Stay blessed.
And stay inspired.
Bye now.
Thanks for listening to Rock Bottom Stories. Do you have a rock bottom story you'd like to share with Rafiq and Dave? Visit our Facebook page, Rock Bottom Stories, and tell us about it. Don't forget to like and share our page, and listen next time. I'm Paula Howley for Rock Bottom Stories. It's something new, and it's all about you.